if you have a special one that you may want to get a very exquisite chess gift for this holiday season, you can look no further than the World Chess shop. Before you, I'm going to show you two boards, which is one is the tournament size premium board, and the small one is what you call the studio set. And the studio set basically is an exact replica of the tournament size board, but only it's about 87% of the size. So as you can see, I got pieces here lined up. These are the studio pieces. Don't worry, you're going to see some really good close-ups of these here in a second. But I'm just going to show you the board here a little close up here. So here's the studio board. I'm just trying to lift it up to the camera here so you can see the square, just to see the quality, just how nice that just looks. All right. Let me move this one here out of the way for a second. And what I'm going to do now is just pick up the tournament size board and give you a close-up of that. Check that out. Wow, that is simply amazing. Beautiful. I mean, this thing is absolutely heavy. This thing is clocking in at, let's see how many millimeters thick this is. This thing is clocking in at about, let me put this on it here. This thing is clocking in at about 23 millimeters thick. I mean, this thing is a serious piece of wood here. Don't get me wrong. Now, let's bring the studio board back over. And now what we're going to do is we're going to compare the pieces. And by the way, again, I'll say this again. This is a very exquisite chess set. And this thing has no shortage of any way to impress anybody. I mean, this thing is amazing. And you really need to see this thing in person to really just get a feel for just how good it is. So anyway, let me go ahead and line some pieces up here. Go ahead and line a pawn up. Pieces over here. We're gonna take some measurements here. Let me see what's the best way to do this here. Matter of fact, let me slide these over. Put the little scale here. And we got us a pair of calipers here. So we're gonna take some measurements to show you the differences, to show you the weights of these pieces. So if anybody worried about how much the pieces weigh, you're going to see just how much they weigh here in a second, and we're going to get some measurements. So anyway, let's move forward here. We turn this on. You know, you always got to start with the knight. That's like the de facto piece that defines a chess set. So first of all, let's get some close-ups here. Oh man, that is beautiful. I gotta say. And I really like the studio size board because it's big enough to actually play on. Like, in other words, like, you can actually play on this. Those squares I'll show you in a minute, they're 45 millimeters. So now if I take a look at, one thing I love about this set, if you look straight down at his eyes, the shadow makes it seem like he just has war paint. And for some reason, the eyes on this knight makes this my favorite knight of all knights, just that alone. Other than that, it is still a brilliant looking, very exquisite looking knight. So how much does the small knight weigh from the studio set? That knight weighs 23.3 grams. And now the knight from the tournament size board weighs 48.4 grams. That is amazing. So, okay, so let's check the base real quick. The base here, 27 millimeters. Let me check the height. Again, these are all going to be rough. I'm not going to press down too hard on the piece. I'm just going to get it very close as I can. About 60 millimeters for the studio set. The tall set is about 73 millimeters, and the base is coming in at about 33 millimeters approximate. I'm gonna just round up just to keep the numbers simple. All right, so moving on, I think the next piece, since we got the knight out of the way, let's go to the star to show which is the king. All right, so here's the king here from the small set. Let me see if I can find where did he go here. This is the big king here, and the small king is here. Here we go. Take a look at that. I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the one thing I like about this design is that it is somewhat plain, but you can sense and see that it took time to make such pieces with so much less features on them, but to be so profound when you look at them. So that's the beauty of these pieces, I think. All right, let's cut that back on. Now here's the king from the studio set, coming in at, let's say, 30 grams. All right, let's check that base on that king. The king is coming in at a 30 millimeters, and it is about 77 millimeters tall. All right, now from the tournament set, the big boy here, how much does he weigh? A whopping 64.4 grams. Amazing. The height on this king, well, I got to open that up kind of wide there, actually. That's pretty amazing, actually. Is about 94 millimeters, and that base is clocking in at, I don't know if I showed you that on camera here. That base is clocking in at, let's just say 40 millimeters. All right, moving on to the queen now. Here's the queen from the tournament size set. This is the studio size set. Let's get a close up of some black pieces now. Look at that. That's smooth. I mean, if you just look at these things, like there's really no, sometimes you can find like some slight imperfections in pieces. I'm not saying there's none on this set, but I haven't seen one yet. I was just standing up looking, and it is astounding just how well, the craftsmanship, just how well these pieces have been made. And let's go ahead and weigh that queen here. That queen is coming in at 27 grams, and that base is coming in at about 31 millimeters, and that height is coming in at about, let's see here, coming in at about 69 millimeters. All right, now the big one from the tournament size set, coming in at 64 grams. And that height on the big one, coming in at 83 millimeters. And that base is coming in at about 39. All right, so next, it's hard to choose. I guess I'll just do the bishop next. I like the bishops. Now these bishops, this is another thing. Normally the miters are kind of pointed at the top on chess pieces, but these miters here are more rounded, say right here on the cap, if you will. So again, it's less form factor, less pizzazz to these pieces per se, but it took some real thought to like make pieces, I think, that are what you call minimal, so to speak, but they look very, very nice, very artistic. And just a way that you can just make these by hand and mass produce these and then put these out to the public is just simply amazing. Everything about it, even like looking at the thing on top of the miter is just sort of like it's like a well-crafted little cone cap right here. Even on the small one, there's the same sort of little nice beveled edge, rounded off and everything. Pretty nice, I gotta say. That's pretty amazing, actually. So here's the weight of that bishop from the small set, from the studio set, and that is coming in at 18 grams. All right, so that height is going to clock in at about 65 millimeters, and that base is going to clock in at about 27 millimeters. Now the big one here, that thing feels pretty weighty, 44 grams. So what I'm noticing here is that this set, this tournament size, the weight is really in other words, the smaller set isn't 87%. It's 87% the size, but not 87% of the weight, roughly speaking. So that means that if you want a heavy set, go with the tournament board. But if you want a nice, it's not that it's light, a set that's just got a nice weight to it and really easy to play with. That studio set, you can't go wrong with it. And definitely it's a centerpiece in your house, because I'm keeping mine on my coffee table downstairs because it's a beautiful set. All right, it's clocking in at 77 millimeters in height, and that base is clocking in at 34 millimeters. That is simply amazing. So I guess the last piece here would be the rooks. Now take a look at this. This rook here, I mean, exact replicas, man. This is, I gotta say, I just love it. This is, I mean, very smooth. Again, like I said, even if you look down inside the rooks, inside of the top of the castle, you know, sometimes companies don't really finish that well on the inside of here. And these things are finished basically to perfection. I mean, I gotta say, that is nice. No little, I guess, flaring of any like little wood from these little corners right here where they cut in top of the castle top. I gotta say, that really took some effort to do that. So again, studio set is going down first. Let me cut that back on. Studio set going down first, and that is coming in at 20 grams, and that height is going to come in at 49 millimeters, and that base is clocking in at 27 millimeters. Now for this one, check this out. 42 grams. That's like I said, nice and weighted. Now let's check that height. That height is coming in at 63 millimeters, and that base is coming in at 36 millimeters. Now I'll measure this square just so you can see that real quick. If we come here to the white square, I'm gonna try not to touch the board because again, I don't want to damage the board here or scratch it. But again, as you can see, that's about 50 millimeters as advertised, and the studio board squares is about 45 millimeters as advertised. So again, all in all, this is simply an amazing set that you can purchase from World Chess. And again, this is everything they own or produce or sell is world class exquisite. This is their logo, world class exquisiteness. And again, anybody who gets anything that's made by World Chess would be super happy any time of the year, but particularly for Christmas, because no matter how old you get, opening a present never gets old.